This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. It is a fact of life for women, and we're going to talk about it today. Can be some challenges with this when it takes place. There's a lot of misconceptions about it, and also lots of changes on the medical front. And I'm talking about menopause. We're going to dive deep into that today. She's a sex therapist, and also she offers menopause therapy. And she's going to share some of her own journey with that as well. Sandra Pascual is back with us. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Steve. Very good. Just recovering from the cold in Florida, which is very weird in a way.
I was there. I know. And I do want to say, as a man talking about menopause, I heard recently Rod Stewart, iconic performer, right? He is taking lessons in menopause so he can better support his wife, because he wants to be there for her and just understand all of this. So it's impactful today. Doesn't matter if you're a man or woman learning more about this. So when it comes to menopause, Sandra, why did you decide to specialize in that?
Well, it was related to my own journey through it. I had a total hysterectomy when I was 49 years old. I had multiple fibrosis in my uterus and cysts, and none one of my ovaries were that, pretty much it's like and everything represented a high risk for cancer. So pretty much when I had to choose a topic for my dissertation to obtain my PhD in clinical sexology, I thought about what I can talk. First you get like what I can talk, research about, and then I thought about my own experience through it. And that's where I focused my research, and my project, doctoral project was focused on menopause and sexual being associated with it.
Now, when you started studying it, of course, you went through that journey. Were you even surprised? I mean, it's on your radar. You shared some personal journey there. Did it even surprise you as you started digging deeper into it?
Well, number one, there's a more, literature about it that I thought it was. I never really heard a lot about menopause, to be honest.
Mm.
My mother, I don't know, went through it. Never really, was a big deal. I don't know. She somehow, the only thing I knew is that she had some hot flashes and she gained weight. And that was my representation of menopause. And that was it in a way. So when I started reading and researching this, I was like, oh, there was so much I didn't know when I went through this process. I went pretty much to my, surgery knowing nothing about menopause. So, and then it was, again, pretty much as like my point was like, that's what I specialized in this. I really want to help women transitioning through this in a better way, knowing that no, you don't have to go through this knowing zero and not having any control over things that are happening in your body.
Happening in your body when you're a woman at this all the time, but especially at this time, hormones. Can we go into that? Talk about, when there's an absence of or a lack of or a decrease and everything else involved?
Sure. Well, menopause is a natural process that occurs between ages of 45 and 55, pretty much. In that process, what happens is gradually the ovaries stop producing hormones. So the most important hormones that the ovaries produce are estrogen and progesterone. They are both essential for pregnancies to occur. And then, ovaries also produce other hormones like, testosterone in a very like small, quantity in a way. So in a way, it's like the ovaries are, you think, okay, well, I'm not planning to get pregnant during this age. So that's fine. I don't have any more ovaries. I don't have any more progesterone, estrogen. That will be fine. And I don't have any more like menstrual cycles. So that's perfect in a way. So, but no, it's like these hormones have very other functions in the body. So, for instance, the pretty much the estrogen is like helps you with bone density. It protects you against heart disease by lowering the cholesterol. Regulates blood sugar levels, and that influence on appetite and body weight. Improves cognitive function and memory, keeps vaginal lubrication, influences mood and emotional well-being. This is all the estrogen. Progesterone mainly is important for pregnancy, but also has other effects on the body, like regulating mood, sleep, and bone health again. And then testosterone, in a way, I think we talked about testosterone before, is mainly associated with muscle mass and strength, and also is a source of energy and has some input in terms of like importance in terms of like sleep. And there are some also studies that show that have an influence on sexual desire.
Hormone replacement therapy, fairly popular for a lot of women, especially at this time. What can you tell us about that?
Well, again, think about that. Usually, this is a process that happens, between, for like 10 years. This is gradual. So, in my case, I had a surgery. So pretty much this process, in a way, I started having all the symptoms in 2 or 3 days. So
Wow.
people that go through what is called surgical menopause, in 2 or 3 days, you are in a fast track lane for menopause.
I'm blown away when you say 2 to 3 days. I would think at minimum 2 to 3 weeks, couple of months, it starts changing, at least in a month. Wow.
Well, again, it's like you have a faucet and someone, whoop, close the faucet. And there's nothing else coming out of there. Because again, your ovaries are not there anymore to support this. Your uterus are not there. Well, uterus not necessarily is important for the hormone, but in a way, again, the entire system, your entire body changes in a matter of days. So before like pretty much getting out of the hospital, I was already having these horrible hot flashes that look like you are on fire. Yeah, yeah, really, like someone lit fire in your body. It's pretty much as a heat from inside you. And then you sweat like you just went to the gym for 3 hours in like minutes. And then this kind of like, again, disappear. So if you think about like, okay, I went, immediately you go to the doctor. Well, what happened is like that with hormone replacement therapy is like in 2000, people started using the hormone replacement therapy. Then it's in 2000, the FDA, apply a black box warning on the hormone replacement products. After the Women Health Initiative conducted a study that was not necessarily statistically significant, but was enough for the FDA to put a black box warning on the hormone replacement therapy products.
So the FDA put that warning on there just to bring up potential serious risks.
Exactly. The major risk is it was like breast cancer. So, but again, their study was like not necessarily significant, but anyways, it was enough for the FDA saying, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're not, we are putting a warning on this. And then after that, women like me were super scared about hormone replacement therapy. I don't want to have, breast cancer in a way. So hormone replacement therapy for me was not even an option, even when, my doctor, and, actually for the doctors also was difficult, because imagine recommending something that the FDA is not approving.
I can't imagine, but this only just happened a couple of days ago. My mind is blown how all these years, the warning was there. The fear factor was out there where this could have been helping so many more women. And then they just lift the warning. I like, how can that be? And any idea why they decided to lift the warning after all this time?
Well, again, year 2000, from now is 25 years of research, 25 years or like, having the opportunity to have more statistical significant studies, scientific studies. And then, they pretty much found out the studies all were conclusive in terms of like hormone replacement therapy is like now safe for women under the age of 60. And again, having like say that, well, pretty much it's like 3 days ago, that's why it's so important, November 10th, Secretary Kennedy make this announcement in a way that now women can make decisions about their health and their well-being based on data, not on fear.
Mm. And just because they're a government agency doesn't mean they always have the answers. Personal journey on that. I've dealt with skin cancer for years, then family, like decades. And right around 2000, actually, I started on a cream that some said worked for skin cancer, genital wart cream. It was a little embarrassing walking into the pharmacy and asking for it and then having to say, it's not what you think it's for. And about 5 years after I had been using it, worked beautifully. You use it, it tells your immune system to attack skin cancer, and you get an SD scab, and it goes away, and you're all good. The FDA finally approved it for that use. So, kudos to the doctor that, suggested that I use it. He saw it coming, but same situation. Now it's decades, and the FDA is saying, well, it's okay. Have at it. Have at it. I just to illustrate the impact on women. I'm still intrigued where 2 or 3 days after you had the surgery, you were full on feeling the symptoms, if you will, of menopause. That speaks volumes in terms of how powerful, hormones are, estrogen, and all of that in women, right?
Well, again, if like remember what I just said about like the other effects that it has in the body, in a way, number one, it's like, okay, the hot flashes, which is pretty much the most symptom that represents menopause. When you say menopause, immediately people, kind of associate it with that. But it's more than that. Again, let's say that you had previously any kind of mental health issue, it's going to
Mm,
be exacerbated most
mm,
probably because of
point.
the issues. So then, the sleep, oh my gosh, the sleep is like something that is so, it started being, if no matter how was your sleep before, if you had any problems with your sleep before, they are going to be exponentially worse. And if you didn't, you're going to start having issues falling asleep, staying asleep. And this is, imagine like you don't have a good sleep at night, the next day you don't function the same
Mm,
way.
yep.
So
Yep.
that's another major issue with that. The mood swings, they have been misrepresented, and sometimes even like people do a lot of, kind of funny comments about it. If there is even like, I don't know, like pretty much it's like a lot of, I think it's in Vegas, I saw something about menopause also, kind of making fun of, everything that happened through menopause, which is absolutely true. And again, I think making fun of something that makes it like less dramatic in a way. But anyways, it's like, again, as hormone replacement therapy, what it can do now is not necessarily making disappear of this. Oh, you know what? You're going to be perfect. But at least it's going to make these symptoms, kind of like be less intense, or you have more time to adjust in the process. So going back to how that's affect, a woman, well, again, I mentioned I was terrified about, again, pretty much what was going to happen to me in terms of my weight. I associated immediately with I'm going to gain, extreme amount of weight. And I started being obsessed about like the weight. I have a lot of clients that come to me and start, so worried about that. So your body changes on top of that. Your sexual life change, not only because of vaginal dryness, because of your, how you perceive yourself, the body changes in a way. And then of course your partner suffers with you.
Can we talk about premenopause starting at around 45-ish? I think that's also misunderstood as well.
Well, again, perimenopause is like, it's the process, it's like, in a way, it's a transition. Perimenopause is all this process throughout these years until you get to menopause. Perimenopause is before menopause in a way. So there is a before, during, and after menopause. So perimenopause is when the first symptoms starting to appear. Now they are saying that hormone replacement therapy is safe before the age of 60, which is pretty much when you start full menopause in a way. So when you start feeling these symptoms, this is a good time to go to your doctor and start talking about like this. This is a good time to start, seeing that the changes in your mood, in your mental health, in your relationships, and start going to counseling, start, figuring out what else you need to do in order to make this transition easier and happier in a way.
We talk about what's perimenopause?
Well, again, it's like the same thing. It's
It
like
is. Okay.
it is the same thing. Yes.
I just want to confirm. Um, what do you want women to know? What this is your purpose in life, helping people with sex therapy, specializing in menopause. You've studied it, you've lived it. What do you want women to know if they're approaching the age of menopause, if they're going through it now, just in general?
Well, besides the symptoms that sound like, really terrible, there is this process in most women that I see that they need to redefine themselves. So not necessarily this is a disgrace in your life. Yeah, menopause isn't irreversible. We're never going to go back in a
Right.
way. Once it starts, there's no way to stop it. It's the same. Well, we immediately say, well, I'm going to get old. Yes, well, aging is another process that you cannot reverse, but you can perfectly figure out what to do with this. What to do is like, again, if going through changes, changes, you are going to be different in several aspects of your life. Different is not better, it's not worse. It's just different in a way. So my point when I work with women mainly is empowering them.
Mm.
It's like, come on, you right now, this is the time that you have to focus more on yourself. You don't need to be focusing anymore about your children because your children grow up. Most probably they're in college, most probably they got married. You don't need to focus anymore on others as much. And now it's time to focus on yourself more and change your lifestyle, because again, now everything that start happening to you is going to happen for the rest of your life. So it's like this is the moment of like thinking about, okay, how do I want to live this next 20 or 30 years of my life?
It seems that many may look at menopause as the end, but it's not. It's a new chapter in your life. The end of being able to bear children, et cetera, et cetera. And also, I'm feeling here too that be in the right mindset. Start preparing where, when you think, well, that's the end of, womanhood as I know it in that regard. Now I'm old. And all those things that we tell ourselves, all lies, all self-limiting beliefs that we put upon us. And that's even leading up to it. We're thinking about it. Women are thinking about it before it even sets in. Then when it does, then it's just I gotta believe that a lot of depression comes from menopause as well, right?
Well, again, it's like usually, yes, you're expected to have you feel different in a way. And not everybody can take these changes, with a smile in a way. And also, yes, this, fear to get old. It is a fear,
Mm.
fear to be invisible, fear to, now it's like, maybe it's like, I'm going to be perceived differently at work. And that's another topic in a way, how menopause is perceived at work. And then it's, kind of like how I'm going to deal with this with my partner. What are the changes I'm going to make? And is my partner going to also want to adjust like Rod Stewart? Not everybody's Rod Stewart in a way. So, maybe the partner is
Mm.
resisting these changes. So yes, there is a pretty much it's like of course, there is going to be a lot of anxiety, maybe depression coming in. But again, it's like, so that is when you need help. I'm not going to sink in depression and or in anxiety. I'm going to feel, and maybe I don't know what are the changes I need to do. And that's, when you look for help, and not only, medical help, because usually most people start focusing on like, I want a pill, I want a patch, I want something, an injection that, helps me with this. No, these are, life changes that you have to make. And you need help from a different perspective, from the mental health perspective in a way.
How can you support women approaching menopause, going through it, even, after it?
Well, again, it's a lot of focus on what can I do rather than that what I lost, what I gain, what I'm going to have now. Come on, you are free in a way if you think about it.
Mm.
You don't have the fear of like getting, pregnant again. You don't have to, again, taking care of little children anymore, unless they are your grandchildren. So in a way, it's like, you know, just see this from a different perspective. Soon you're going to, I don't know, be retired. You have more time for like your partner, for you to travel, to do things that you never did. Maybe you can take, you can change the things that you do, your hobbies, for something that gives you more pleasure, gives you more like happiness.
Sure.
Um, so definitely, that's pretty much where I come from. My help comes, in again, empowering them, looking for positive changes and having a positive attitude towards that, and also help them transition the changes, the sexual changes that come associated with them.
And I guess to remember that it's temporary, maybe longer than you want it to be in terms of the symptoms, but it's not for the rest of your life. So to be mindful of all of those things. How do we find you, Sandra? What's the best way?
Well, again, my website, notuscounseling.com, Notus counseling. And also you can email me, Sandra@notuscounseling.com.
Thank you for today, all the insight, and especially your transparency in your journey. Uh, it means a lot. It shows a lot. And again, right back to that you were experiencing it after your surgery, a few days after, just the impact of what's going on in our bodies, especially for women. Appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.